Good morning and Merry Christmas. I can say it now without being judged, right? Okay? Merry Christmas. Listen, y'all got your beans, greens, potatoes, and tomatoes this past week, all right? Y'all are doing good there. It's time, man. It's Christmas time. We can allow Mariah Carey to fully thaw out from her cryo chamber sleep right now. We can let her sing her songs, and we can all hark the herald and deck the halls and all that good stuff now and listen to our Christmas music without being judged, right? And they're going to have to find something else to be judging and hateful about now, right? I'm not talking about anyone specifically. But anyways, no, we are glad that you guys are here. We're excited as we're starting our brand new Christmas at the Movie series. And the fun thing is, we get to choose what movie we do. And you're like, wow, you picked a really corny movie, Aaron. I sure did. But I love it. I love this movie, Jingle All the Way. Mainly because of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's got some great one-liners in this because you just got to love how he talks, man. And I mean, if you can have a movie where you have Arnold Schwarzenegger screaming out, put that cookie down, that is a great film, okay? So it is an awesome film, but what about this time of year? I'll tell you what probably I like most about the film. It kind of reminds me of real back in the day Black Friday. Who remembers real Black Friday back in the day? You know what I'm talking about? Not online like, do you want 12 of these? You can get as many as you want right here. No, I'm talking like there's only 20 on a pallet, and if you're not willing to pile drive someone, you're not getting one, right? You remember they used to put them like in black tarps and stuff so you couldn't see it, and then it was just a big reveal what was behind it, right? It was like Hunger Games out there, you know what I'm saying? It was serious, man. I remember the first time I ever went, my wife and I, who I was dating at the time, she talked me into going, and I really didn't want to go, but she was like, you'll have fun, let's just do it. So I went with her. Next thing you know, I'm standing in line at Walmart, and I'm like boxing people out to get like a DVD player or something like that, right? I mean, it was crazy, but it's nothing like that now. But I think this movie reminds me of what that was like, because the whole premise behind this film is Arnold, his name's Howard in the movie, right? Howard is an absent father. He's just not doing the dad thing very good. I mean, he's his son. He's got a wife and a son. And by the way, the kid that plays in that, I remember when I found out that who was going to play. Any Star Wars people in here? Anyone ever watch Star Wars? When they came out with the prequels, they were like, the guy who's going to be Anakin Skywalker, young Darth Vader. And I was like, that's the kid from Jingle All the Way. That's who they're choosing to have as Anakin. It was weird. Anyways, that's just my dork coming out for a second. But anyways, in this film, you got the wife and the kid's just upset because dad's not involved. So what's he do? He goes to apologize to him for missing out on this big karate thing that he had. And he starts saying, the kid's like, well, at least I'll get my Turbo Man toy, I've been looking forward to it. So the dad's into it, and he's like, yeah, your Turbo? Yeah, it's going to be something. They're like, oh, we're really bonding, we're having this great time. Then he realizes, I did it again. I didn't get the doll. I didn't get Turbo Man. So what we see in the film is he decides he's going to set out on Christmas Eve to go out last second and try and get one of these toys. And it reminded me of back in the day when there's always that hot toy of the year. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to bring up some of these, and let me see if you guys make a little noise if any of these toys resonate with you, if it was something you remember as a kid. Maybe, don't just make a little noise if it's a toy you had or remembered or anything like this. This one's kind of generational, but this one goes back, way back, but still relevant today. Anybody ever have one of these? Anybody have a G.I. Joe? G.I. Joes, anybody? Now, those are the old school, thank you. This is like the old school dolls, right? But like they had like the action figures and stuff like that too. G.I. Joe people, anybody? Boys, anybody? Oh, thank you, all right. Ooh, a little, woo. Anyways, all right, how about another one? Star Wars toys. Anybody have like the action figures or like the big spaceships or anything? Right? Anybody? Star Wars? Okay, so I'm the only nerd in the house. All right, just checking, all right. Just making sure. All right, Star Wars toys were a big one. Cabbage Patch dolls. Who had a Damn, I knew my ladies be like, oh, hallelujah. Yes, you had Cabbage Patch dolls, right? You love those things. I've seen videos from back in the day. People did not mess around with Cabbage Patch dolls, man. I'm telling you, it got real with the Cabbage Patch dolls. All right, how about, what do I got? Ooh, Game Boy. Anybody have a Game Boy growing up? Yeah, man. We had two boys, me and my brother. We had one Game Boy. And it was a fight every day who gets to have the Game Boy. And I remember, too, you had to play it during the daytime, right? Or under a light, right? Just had this little green screen. And I remember we even got like this pack that came with like a big magnifying glass. It would be like that. And came with a little light so you could actually like use it in the car. But then your dad would scream at you that you're going to kill us all with that light on. So you had to turn it off. So it didn't work. But me and my brother I remember playing Tetris what seemed like hours on that thing, right? Loved the Game Boy. How about this one? A little later. Power Rangers. Anybody have a Power Ranger toy growing up? Power Rangers was crazy. This was all me back in the day, man. I remember I wanted for Christmas one year, they had the Power Ranger, it was the gloves. You could get the gloves with all the different Power Rangers, and it like had like these little buttons in there, and you literally could go whoosh, wash, wash, like when you, when you swung, and then you put them together and it'd make like a sound. I remember I wanted that so bad, I wanted the Red Ranger ones. And I remember my mom sat me down one night and said, son, would you be okay if Santa wasn't able to get the Red Ranger gloves but got you the Black Ranger gloves? And I was like, I think we can make it work, right? I remember I was very upset, but I was like, I think we can do it, all right? So I got the Black Ranger gloves, loved them. They were great. All right, but I still want the Red Ranger gloves. Anyways, so Power Rangers was a big one. How about this one? You remember Tickle Me Elmos back in the day? How many of y'all stood in the line waiting on a Tickle Me Elmo, right? Dude, people didn't play around. I remember you remember KB Toys at the Ashland Town Center? I remember they had policemen, and they only allowed like 5 people in at a time because people were going to literally chokehold people to try and get a hold of a Tickle Me Elmo. That thing. This is what everybody had to have, right? All right, and then this one's a little later, but iPod. Who had an iPod Touch growing up? That was like your first, this was what slipped us all into darkness, right? This did it, right? This was a gateway for all of us, right? Now we're all like this all the time, right? So that was a big one too for maybe some of you younger folk in here, right? But here's the thing. All of these were all the craze, all the wildness. We all thought if we get this thing, if we have that toy, if we are able to have these things, then we are going to be so happy, right? We are going to be so set for life. We are going to use that thing forever. And we thought that the stuff was going to do it. And Howard, in this moment, he knew that he had to get this toy. He had to get the Turbo Man doll, because if he got that, then it would fix the fact that he's been an absent father. That's what he's going to do, because much like Howard, every single one of us think many times that if the way that we fix distance is going to be replace it with stuff. We think that we are going to be able to fix the distance that we have with people in our lives or the things that we do with stuff. We think that it's going to be distance, or it's going to be stuff that is going to replace the distance we have in our life. And now, Jesus talked a lot about this idea. And I know you're like, what does Arnold Schwarzenegger have to do with Jesus, right? What does Turbo Man have to do with our Lord and Savior, right? Well, check this out. I want you to see Jesus had this very moment with 2 ladies who invited him into his house. And they said, hey, come here and eat. So 2 women who were nice enough and gracious enough to offer to Jesus and his disciples to come in and feed them and let them stay there, which was Jesus' MO, right? He didn't own a house. He didn't have a place where he could just go to bed at night. He always had to be borrowing from people. This is how he lived his life. He was truly homeless, right? So he goes to this house, and look at how the story goes here. This is in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10. It says, as Jesus and his disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister, Mary, sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But watch this. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner that she was preparing. So, all the while we're getting Jesus into the house, we got the disciples there, and Jesus is doing his thing. He's telling stories. He's just they're probably just unpacking some miracle that he did on the way there. He's probably talking to his father, and they're all just in amazement what's happening. All the while, you got Martha, who invited them into the house. She's working hard, man. She's cooking up a storm. I don't know, man. She's probably trying to bring out the best. She's bringing out the fine china. You know what I'm talking about, right? She's bringing out all the best things that she's got. She's trying to whip up the best meal that she possibly can. All the while, her sister is literally sitting at the feet of Jesus, just taking it all in, right? And it actually says that while all this is happening, while the action is happening in this room, back where everything's being prepared, Martha is distracted. Much like Howard in this story, what ends up happening is Howard thinks that by doing more, that by performing more, that he somehow is going to repair what is not happening at home with his family. He believes that if he can do more, that somehow he is going to fix what it means to actually show up and deal with what needs fixed. You see, Martha decided that it was going to be her work, it was going to be her performance, it was going to be her acts, that was going to be the way to show devotion and love to Jesus. While her sister is literally sitting at the feet of Jesus, right? And so what does Howard do in the movie, right? Howard actually decides that he is going to do whatever he can. First off, he leaves Christmas Eve, all right? Think about this. Christmas Eve. And Dad's like, see y'all, I gotta go. I'll be back. 24 hours later, Dad doesn't come back. What would y'all think? Dad's gone. Yeah, he ain't never coming back, right? So he's gone the whole day. He neglects his family all of Christmas Eve. And what does he do the whole day? You find out in this story, he lies, he begs, he cheats, he fights, he does everything that he thinks possible to try and get this stupid toy. He thinks this is what is going to earn him acceptance and love from his family. We assume, and I assume, every single one of us, that if we do enough, then maybe in actuality we will be enough. You see, Martha decided that she was going to do everything she possibly could so that hopefully when it all comes out, Jesus would go, great job, Martha. Way to go, sister. You did it. Now I love you. Now I think you're the best. Now I think you are great. Howard decides he's going to literally do whatever he can. And for his son to go, you did it, Dad. For the wife to say, you did it, Howie. You finally got the toy that he always wanted. And now we're always going to love and care about you because you are the best dad ever. So he leaves out that morning and he decides he's going to find the toy. He finds out, because he's an idiot, that that's not going to happen. So then he goes to a mall where there's a rumor that maybe there's some Turbo Man dolls there. And this is what we see happen. All right, so the frenzy has begun, and he immediately, what ends up happening? He gets bit, he gets trampled, he literally gets maced, right? All the while trying to figure out how he's going to get this doll for his kid, because he decided that the way that he's going to fix his problem and he's going to fix being an absent father is by getting all this stuff. But now he finds himself in a really hard situation because he's decided that that's the only thing that's going to do it. And when you decide that this is going to be the thing that fixes it, you start putting away everything else in your life. So what ends up happening is, for you and I, we decide that the goal is win that thing. Win that prize. And when we do that, the mistake that we made when we decide it's about winning the prize is we decide now that the people in our lives have become the obstacles. They are the ones that are the problem, right? Think about this. He's probably staying with us. Okay, so Sinbad, which you can't get more 90s than Sinbad, right? Sinbad is there, and he's a mailman. And at the beginning of the movie, they're like, yeah, I want a Turbo Man too. Are you here to get a Turbo Man? Yeah. And then next thing you know, 20 minutes later, he's macing them in the face, right? Why is this happening? Because they decided they're going to do anything to get the Turbo Man doll. When you decide that the goal is to get the thing, to get the stuff, the people in your life, whether it's the people you love and care about, or whether it's just the people that you work with, or the people that you run into every single day, or people that may need your care and people that may need your love and acceptance, guess what? You've decided they're in the way. They're the problem. They are the issue. It has nothing to do with you. It's all the other people in your life. It's no different with Martha. Look at what it says here in verse 40 again. But Martha was distracted, right? She was distracted by the big dinner that she was preparing. She came to Jesus, and I love how she says this. She came to Jesus, and she said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come help me. You got to love Martha here, right? She tries to pull Jesus in, right? She tries to get Jesus on her side, and she says, don't you think, you got to love when someone comes to you with that one. Don't you think they're already trying to persuade you, right? Yeah, but don't you think that I'm doing all the work and everyone else is just sitting around while I'm the one putting in all the effort? Tell her to come help me. Tell her to come do something because she's useless right now. She's doing absolutely nothing, and I am slaving over this meal, trying to get it prepared so that everyone, especially you, enjoys it and says, what a good job, and enjoys what's happening. So what she's done now is that Jesus, even Jesus himself, who was there in this place, and his disciples and followers that are there in this room, and her very own sister, she decides that those people need to stop listening to him. I need help. Get Mary back here now. I need her to do something. You see, when the goal is to win the prize, people will always become obstacles. You see, when we're chasing that thing, when we're chasing that promotion, when we're chasing that relationship, when we're chasing the one thing we think that's going to make us happy, what ends up happening is that you become frantic, you become scared, and you start to forget about people. I want you to know that Jesus himself showed the opposite of this in everything that he did, the way that he lived his life, right? No matter where he went, no matter what he did, they would be pushing him to try and go to the next place, to do the next thing, to perform the next miracle, to heal as many people as possible. And they would be walking, and the disciples would be saying, come on, Jesus, we got to go. We got to get to the next town. We got to get to the next thing. And so many times Jesus would just, hold on, wait. Somebody here needs my help. And they'd be like, what are you talking about, Jesus? Like, everybody needs your help. What are you talking about? Somebody needs your help. And would be that woman who was sick and just reached out. It would be a guy in a tree, hiding, not even trying to seek Jesus, just wanted to see him. It would be all these different people who were just looking for a moment and thought that they were on the outside and that they were apart from everything and they couldn't have acceptance and they couldn't have love. Jesus always made time and didn't forget about people. Too many of us have decided that it's about winning the prize. It's about getting the goal. It's about getting all these things so that we can find our acceptance and love through our works and the things that we had done. She said, doesn't it seem unfair? Probably was, right? If you and I were sitting in that room, Martha's doing work, man. Martha's doing her thing. And Mary's just said, wouldn't you all? I know I would. I'd be like, Mary, you are lazy. Won't you get in there with your sister and help her out, right? We would all be saying that. But Jesus has a different reaction. Why does he have a different reaction? Because in this moment, he knew there was something more. There was something more important than just busyness. There was something more than just work. There was something more than just performance. You see, busyness in our life will always promise us peace. Busyness will always promise us a fullness. Busyness will always promise us happiness and joy. But what it often does is leave us bitter. But the good news is that you and I don't have to earn that acceptance. You and I don't have to earn that love. This is the hardest concept for so many of us to understand, that it's not about our works. It's not about the busyness in our life. It's not about pushing people out of the way so that we can get what we think is going to make us happy. But it's about the acceptance that we already find. Look here in Ephesians chapter 2. It says this: God saved you by his grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. This is hard for us all, right? You cannot take credit for any of this. Why? Because it is a gift from God. Why do we celebrate Christmas? Why is Christmas such a great time? Because you get gifts. You see, it's not, I remember there was a song that I listened to once. It was like, Christmas isn't about giving. And I was like, yes, it is. That sounds like the most selfish thing ever, right? Christmas isn't about giving. No, it's actually about receiving. It's about receiving a gift that none of you and myself have earned. It says that it's not something that we can take credit for because it is a gift from God. You didn't do anything to deserve it. In fact, you don't deserve it. But you get it anyways because it is a gift. Salvation is not a reward for the good things that we have done. Guys, you are not accepted because you did good things. You guys don't get God because you did something nice for someone. You don't get God because you stopped cussing. You don't get God because you read your Bible. You don't get God because you come here every Sunday morning. You get God because it is a gift. It is not about the good things we have done, so none of us, and that means none of us, can boast about it. We got nothing, guys. You got nothing. What are you going to do that's going to gain you acceptance from God? Nothing. It is a gift. And because of that gift, no matter how many times you try to push yourself to the front and do everything that you can, and you sway people away from you, and you push people outside of you, you are never going to get that acceptance from anywhere else. Howard in this story has now literally missed out on the entire day of Christmas Eve with his family because he said, I have to fix my screw up. It's on me. I have to do something about this. And in the midst of this, he does some crazy stuff, guys. He literally, there was literally at one point, like he was in a radio station and they assaulted the radio guy and there was a bomb in one of the packages. They blew up a building, guys. This is the crazy stuff that happens, right? So then he finds himself running away from police throughout the whole movie. He goes to some kind of FBI. He literally poses as an FBI agent. Just crazy stuff. I know it's a movie, guys. It's corny. I love it, right? So this is all happening, and he gets towards the end, and he decides finally he's screwed up too much. He's just going to go own up to it and go to the parade. There's a parade at the end of the movie. He's going to go to the parade with his family. While this is happening at the parade, one thing leads to another. He finds himself in some back room, and they're like, hey, you're the stand-in for the parade. You are going to be actually Turbo Man. They have like a live-action Turbo Man at the parade, and you are it, right? And he just kind of gets wound up in it, and he becomes part of that, right? Okay, I think they were just trying to do something because this was mid-90s Arnold. He's probably still looking pretty good, right? So they had to get him in a skin suit, right? That's what they were trying to do. So he ends up putting on the suit, and he's now in the parade. And you find during all these craziness, he literally, guys, he's literally got like a rocket pack. He's flying in the sky. He has to save his son. And he gets this big special edition Turbo Man that's handed to him. And he gets to pick out any kid. He picks his boy, of course. And he gets the gift. He did it, right? He finally proved that he's the best dad ever because he did it. He put forth all the effort. And even though beside all the mistakes that he made, he was able to do it. And the boy got the gift. And you would say, end of story. He did it. He did everything that he promised he was going to do. But then what ends up happening, we'll see right here. Let's watch this together. So after all that and getting the doll finally, he hands it to him. You think it's going to be over, and he gives it to the guy who's been wanting to get one for his son. Literally the bad guy of the film, basically. He ends up being the bad guy here at the end, doing anything. Literally at one point, that kid's like hanging off of like a 30-story building. I think he attempted murder on the child, right? But somehow, the kid's like, here, take the toy. Why did he give him the toy? Why did he want him to have it? Because Jamie, the boy in this story, he wanted his dad more than the toy. So he literally gave the toy away. Why is that the case? Why does that happen? Because when you know that you are loved, when you know that you're cared for, the chase for stuff, it only is a side quest. All this stuff that's happened this entire movie, the craziness of going out and doing like some shady stuff to try and get this stupid toy, to do all that, to literally become the character, to literally become to become Turbo Man and fly around the city and all this crazy stuff. You would say that's the thing to finally make you the man. No, that's actually only a side quest. Everything that we have done to this point that we think is to chase something, whether it's approval, whether it's a promotion, whether it's love of somebody, we're trying to reach out to it with the effort that we have in our life, those are the things that are just noise in our life. But when you know, no matter what, that you're loved, and those things are just a side quest. Howard thought he had to find that doll in order for his kid to love him. And because of that, he neglected him. He neglected his wife. They were going to leave him after this. But then what ends up happening? He proves to him, it's not about the things that I've done. I just want to be present. What ends up happening in the story with Mary? Why is Mary the way to go? Why does it seem like Mary, who's doing absolutely nothing, why would she be the goal here? Why would she be the move? Why would Mary, for you and I, be what we want to be? Because she decided that she was going to take being in the presence of Jesus over trying to perform for Jesus. It wasn't about our performance, but truly about the presence. We find that out when he talks about, Jesus himself talks about the one thing. The one thing. Look at what it says here. Verse 42. It said there's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will be not taken from her. There's only one thing worth being. This is Jesus. Jesus says there's only one thing worth being concerned about. So what is that one thing? And it's Mary, right? Mary's not doing anything, and Jesus acts as if she's found it. She found the buried treasure. She found the thing that everybody's looking for in life by doing absolutely nothing. Why is she the one that has discovered it? Martha, who's looking for it and trying to prove her love and devotion and doing everything that she can, why is it Mary the one that had found it? Because in her life, she understood that it was the relationship that is in front of you and the acceptance that you find, not from your good deeds, not from the things that you can accomplish, but from the goodness of who He is. That's the one thing. It's our presence within Him. I want you to know this morning, and I want you to ask yourself, what's your one thing? What is the one thing that you and I are using to say, this gives me peace. This gives me purpose. This gives me love. This gives me acceptance. Because according to Jesus, the one thing that we are looking for is found in Him. And Mary discovered it. So I ask you today, what is your one thing? Have you discovered what that one thing is? Because I promise you, we're going to try and find it from other places. This time of year, we try to find it in presents, gifts that we get for other people and try to say, this is how much I love you, or maybe it's in the things that you're hoping that you get, that one thing you think you're going to get, or maybe it's that bonus at work, or maybe it's that person you've been wanting to have a relationship with, you're hoping that they will extend that back to you, and I don't know what it is for you, but we all have that one thing that we think is going to do it because we are all seeking out peace. We are all seeking out answers. Why do you listen to Christmas music before Thanksgiving? Because I'm mentally unwell and I want to feel something, right? It's because, listen, if I could listen to Christmas music in June without people turning their heads at me, I would probably do it. Why? Because we're seeking something. We're seeking happiness. We're seeking love. We're seeking peace. And we try to find it other places. But it's found in Jesus. And it's found in understanding that the presence we have with Him resets our priorities. Jesus offers an invitation to us, and that invitation is still open to every single one of us every single day. What is it? He talked about it in Matthew chapter 11. He gave this invitation to you and He gave it to me. He says, then Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Life gets heavy. It gets hard. It gets tough. Jesus is the only one who has ever looked and said, instead of giving you more stuff, instead of giving you more burdens, instead of giving you all these things that you think have the answers, I'm going to give you something you never thought that you could have. I'm going to give you the gift of rest in me. Mary, and let's be honest, Mary might have been lazy. Maybe she was. Maybe Mary wasn't a great sister. Maybe Mary had made a lot of mistakes in her life. Maybe Mary made promises and then broke promises all the time. So maybe there was already a little bitterness between Mary and Martha, right? I knew it. You were always lazy, and we got Jesus in the house, and you're still lazy, right? Jesus, will you tell her to help me, please? She never listened to me. Maybe she'll listen to you. What's He say? You've been distracted by all these things, but there's one thing that you've forgotten about. Mary found it. This morning, let me ask you something. Have you found it? Do you know what actual rest looks like? Do you know what actual peace looks like? The only place it's found is in Jesus, at the feet of Jesus. That's where Mary found it. Mary discovered it. So let me ask you this as we close. What is your one thing? What do you seem to keep going back to find that rest? And maybe it feels good for a little bit. Maybe it feels right. Maybe it fits for a second, but then it starts to get uncomfortable. And you start looking for another thing, but then you always find yourself going back to that one thing, thinking that's going to be the answer. What if the one thing is Jesus? Have you tried it? Have you actually tried it? Because he gives the invitation to every single one of us. What's your one thing? And so today, what I want to do is I want to pray for all of us as we get into the busyness and the craziness of Christmas and everything that goes alongside of it, that we would actually be able to understand that there is rest found in grace and love. No matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, no matter what mistakes you may have made in your life, no matter where you're at with your family, no matter where you are at in your job, there is actually peace found in Jesus Christ and in Jesus Christ alone. Not because of your good works, not because of my good works or my mistakes, but because of the gift that's given to us. Would you guys close your eyes and just let me pray for you really quick? God, I do thank you so much for who you are, for the simple fact that you came to this earth, not in this big fashion, but you actually came into this world, Emmanuel, God with us, through your son Jesus, in the form of a child, a helpless child, who lived the life of a servant, second to everyone, and then died the death of a criminal, carrying the weight and sin of all mankind, so that we could stand here today and know that we're free. Free from the expectations of the world, free from the hang-ups and the hurts that we have had in our life, free from all of the pain and sorrow that we deal with on a regular basis. God, you give us freedom from that. You give us an invitation. Today we seek you out, we sit at your feet, and we take up your offer for rest. Help us to know it's never about our performance, but truly about your presence in our life. You promised us you'd never leave us. You would never walk away from us. And we rest in that today. We love you today. We thank you. We ask all these things in Jesus' name and amen. Guys, thank you again for listening. Thank you for being here. We hope you have a great rest of your day and come back next week. Merry Christmas.